Hello, everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for another episode of So Chatty. And this is episode 45 for January, what's today? 28th, day after your birthday. Oh, how could we forget? January the 28th, 2022. And so we thought we have talked a little bit about this before, way back in one of our very early episodes of So Chatty. But we thought again we'd talk about retreats for a couple of reasons, because right now this is retreat season as we move into spring. Well, we're tail end of January here in Canada. We still got a couple of more months of winter, but people are still thinking springy like thoughts about retreats and whatnot. And of course, with COVID, retreats have changed because more and more places are doing their retreats online through Zoom or comparable programs as well. So there's probably some new people, well, a lot of new people who've gotten into quilting during COVID for something to do, and they may have never been to a retreat before. And so what to expect? Because retreats, when you first hear about them, are exciting, but can also be very intimidating. I know the first time I ever went to a retreat, I didn't really know what to expect, but I had a really great time. And then Walter came to a retreat. Okay, I should have turned that off. Walter came to a retreat at one time, and what were you expecting? Of course, you'd heard me talking about it, but...
Well, I don't know. It was sort of what I kind of expected. It was...
Were you not intimidated at all?
Not really.
Oh, no, just a room full of women who know what they're doing in the whole bit and didn't bother you at all. No, not at all. Okay, good for you.
Well, I guess I was a little bit intimidated.
Well, I
don't like people watching me over my shoulder.
Yeah, well, I don't either, and that's what I was expecting, that there'd be some coming over and going, and what are you working on? And, oh, you're going to do it that way? Oh, those are the colors you're going to use? And I think in some cases you might run into someone that's like that, but what I have found out of the retreats I have been to, physical retreats I'm talking about right now, not online ones, that has not been the case. Most people come over and they might ask you what you're working on, but they're very supportive of it. And another advantage too, well, we're going to talk about advantages and disadvantages, but people are generally very nice, very friendly, and they're out for a good time, which is something we haven't been able to do quite sometimes. So the other reason I thought we would talk about this is because we have the potential to go to a physical retreat in 2 months' time, pending the situation in the world, and I do have apprehensions about that, and we're going to talk about those apprehensions and some things we have found out since that sort of put my fears to a lesser level. And we're going to talk about online retreats, and I have run several online retreats, and spoiler alert, I am planning another one coming up in another month's time, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it and what I have planned for that. But right now, let's just talk about what is a retreat and what one...
You mean a physical retreat?
A physical retreat. Well, actually, any retreat, but we'll focus on physical to start with. What it is and what you can expect. So, what is a physical retreat? Well, the name in itself suggests that. When you think of retreats, you think of getting away for a day or two, a weekend, whatever, getting together with people who are there for the same reason as you are, whatever that is. And I'm talking beyond quilting retreats. There's religious retreats, there's meditative spiritual retreats, there's group therapy retreats of all sorts. You hear this word all the time around. So what's the word retreat bring up to your mind, like just in general when you hear the word retreat?
Getting away and doing things.
Okay, getting away and doing things, and away from the hubbub of everyday life that usually gets into the way of the things we really want to do. So, well, a quilting retreat is pretty much the same idea. You're getting together with a group of people who all share a common interest, and that common interest is to quilt. What are the expectations of a retreat? Well, what were your expectations when you went to a retreat? What did you think you were going to accomplish or was going to happen?
Well, first one I ever went to, I was still sort of quilting a little bit, or trying to quilt. And so it was sort of an opportunity, I guess, to work on projects and see what other people were working on as well.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it to be a little bit social, so I didn't really know what to expect, actually.
Okay, so you're a newbie. Well, that was the same as the very first retreat I went to as well. My very first retreat was with the guild I belonged to at the time, and of course, I was the only man in the guild, so I didn't really know how that was going to be, taken by the ladies because
Actually, I thought your first retreat was the one from the sewing,
speak it, come out, spit it
the
out.
ultimate sewing. And the second one you went to was the.
No, my very first one was down at the German club.
Oh, okay.
That one, yeah, which was not an overnight kind of retreat. It was
Oh, okay.
over a weekend, over a couple of days. But because it was right here in the place where we live, people were just leaving their stuff overnight and going home and then coming back the next day. And so I know when I walked into the place, I was a little intimidated because, well, I didn't know what to bring, and for sure, so I brought everything except the kitchen sink. And I didn't know where to sit because I thought, well, if they had tables all set up, and I was relatively early, so not a lot of people were there yet. So I didn't want to plunk myself down because everything was set up in groups. It wasn't long tables. Some retreats could be long tables, and they assign you a spot or you find a spot, and you have like a 4x6 sort of area to work in or something like that. But this was all set up in like quads the way they had done it, and we each had our own space. It was actually kind of a neat format because it was sort of shaped like an X, because we had tables coming out at each of the 4 points of the compass kind of a thing. So you had your little area, and they had set up in the center of this cluster of tables like an extension cord, like a power bar, so we could plug in our machines and everything from that. So yeah, so I came in and I kind of said sheepishly, where should I sit? And they said, any place you like. But I didn't want to, people get very cliquey in these kind of things and guilds and that, and they want to sit with their friends. So I plunked myself down, but I pretty much had myself prepared for someone to come in and go, hi, no, that's taken. That's for us. We always sit together. Well, I didn't have that problem. So now there were ones that were all sitting together, but I think they'd sort of arranged that in advance, and whoever was the person in charge of organizing, coordinator, had kind of marked the table, with people's names for those situations. So it was no problem. I had 3 ladies sitting in my cluster with me, and I didn't know these ladies because I had just recently joined the guild, but I got to know them. And it was fine. Now, did they come over and look over my shoulder? Yes, they did. But they were very friendly about it, and I got some really great tips. Because I remember at the time I was making half square triangles for this quilt, and there was something like 360 half square triangles to make. And I became known as the half square king that weekend, and the ripping king, because they knew when I was ripping out stuff. And everybody just laughed, and I learned some other techniques for making half square triangles, and everybody was very, very nice. It was a good time had by all. So when you went to your first one,
well, I was with you.
So. Well, yeah, so you knew me.
Yeah, so it was okay. I thought it was fine. The only thing was I guess I wasn't really prepared for it to be as long of a day or whatever. Like, yeah. I thought you just sewed till like 6 o'clock, had dinner, and that's it.
Well, in some retreats you do.
Yeah, well, I guess it basically you can do whatever you want to do at a retreat. It doesn't really matter. If you've paid and gone, you can make up the rules yourself.
Well, and people do. I mean, if you go out to a place where you're going away and you have accommodation and meals provided in your fee for that, many cases, the area wherever you are is open 24 hours. So you can go in and sew at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want to. You can go sew in your jammies. I don't think that would be very appealing for me because my jammies are somewhat see-through. You get my drift. And And people did. Other people after dinner came back, sewed for a couple of hours, and turned in, at 8 or 9 o'clock at night or whatever. It was up to the individuals. I think we sewed that one year, when the first one we were together, until about 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah, but I guess for a lot of people, it offers them an opportunity to get away from home, and like a mini vacation.
Yeah. And for ladies especially, I think these kind of retreats, these physical retreats, are extremely appealing, because if they have kids at home, husband at home, whatever, I've heard them all say the same thing. Gives them a chance to just sew for long periods of time, which they don't get when they're at home, because somebody's always bothering them for something. Plus, if you go away to a place, and I think the ladies really like this, they don't have to worry about cooking meals, cleaning up, anything like that. It's all done for them. So in a sense, it's like a spa time in a way. And in fact, some retreats do that. Some retreats will bring in a masseuse who will come around and give people like little shoulder massages and things like that, hand massages. They'll even have a manicurist or something come in, and you'll get your nails done. It's a nice little break. Now, I didn't have my nails done, and I didn't have any massage because I don't like people touching me. But that some retreats will go all out and offer that kind of thing. There's even very elaborate retreats that could be held at a very nice hotel, where they have got like a banquet hall, or a presentation room or something is for your sewing, but you have all of the amenities of the hotel, like the pool and things like that. And some people like to take advantage of that. So if they can break up their time there like a mini vacation, like you said, and enjoy all of that kind of stuff as well. Now, I haven't been to one that elaborate. And basically, when I go to a retreat, I'm there to sew. So that's a physical retreat. Oh, and a lot of people go and you expect to get a lot of things done. Well, you might not, because like Walter said, social, and it is social. The ones that we've been on with Ultimate Sewing are very social. We happen to be that in the social committee, actually. We provide a little bit of entertainment in the weekend as well, like organized entertainment sort of a thing, not just because we're just entertaining people on our own, but we actually plan some things out for that. Oh, and there may be a store. If it's sponsored by a shop owner, they may bring in a whole lot of their fabrics and notions and things like that, and they'll often offer sale prices or specials on that kind of thing. Or if it's organized by, say, a guild, they may bring some store owners in, like vendors who will set up at one end of your hall or something, and you've got a little store right there. Or I have seen some that will arrange a shuttle service to the downtown section of wherever they're holding the retreat, so you can go to one of the stores or whatever. And oftentimes those store owners, they know you're coming, they will offer special retreat sale prices on things too for you. So there's that. And you get goodie bags sometimes. Actually, most times, if it's organized, you get a little goodie bag where you'll have maybe a fat quarter in there, or some charm packs, or different notions and things like that that you're getting. That's all part of the price you've paid. Patterns, something like that.
Yeah. So, but a lot of these retreats where you go out to them can be somewhat costly at
Yes.
times.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
Because if the ones we've been to as well, is that if you're going to a place for a weekend or 2 or 3 days, you'll a lot of times you'll have hotel costs, and they may provide a food package where that's included, but it can run into a bit of money to do that.
Yeah, because it depends on where they're going. The one that we go to with Ultimate Sewing is fairly reasonable in price. Your meals are included, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. you have an area to set up your sewing machine. It's a fairly large area as well. And of course you have accommodation, and the accommodation is, it's a little rustic, but it's not bad because where we stayed anyways, at this place, it had a kitchen in it, a full kitchen, like full size fridge. It had, no, I don't think you could cook in there. It had a microwave kind of
I
thing.
guess it really depends on what venue you're in. Like, I mean, if you're in a hotel that's hosting it, that has kitchen facilities, and you'd have that. But if you're not in, it could be just a room, or whatever. It depends on the location that you're going to.
And that's going to
and then I guess the
price.
more elaborate the resort that you're going to, the more expensive it'll be.
So it costs us, where we have gone with our local quilt store, it's roughly costs us about $400 each for 2 nights or 3 nights. 3 nights, I think. We usually go up on a Thursday, don't we? We go up on Thursday, and we have Friday. No. We go up.
You go up usually like on a Friday, and then early on a Friday, so you've got all Friday to sew, and then you get Friday night and Saturday night, and then part of Sunday.
And usually after lunch, people are leaving on Sunday. So it's about 400 and change a piece. Private rooms,
Well, I think wasn't it depends on what you got for accommodation.
Well, we're a double occupancy.
We're double occupancy.
So you could get single in this case, and I think single had a subsidy that you had to pay a little more. I think maybe $30 in this case more a night if you wanted a single room. Some places will have like single accommodation, double accommodation, quad accommodation. So if you're going up with some of your friends and you guys don't mind sharing a room, you can get it for a little less. 4 of you in there, and many of the ladies like that because it's like sleepover with the girls kind of a thing. Personally, if I was going to a retreat by myself, it would be single accommodation. I'm not sharing with a stranger. Well, obviously I'm not going to be sharing with a woman, and if I'm the only man, so no, Walter comes with me. It's just an unwritten law. He has to come with me. Simple as that.
Unless you go by yourself.
But I won't be going by myself because you will be coming with me.
Well, you went by yourself to the one with your sewing group.
Oh yeah, the guild. That when they had it, same place that Ultimate Sewing had it. Yeah, that was a different kind of an experience. That one, I didn't have a really good experience. That one, but that was for reasons beyond the scope of this.
I mean, you have to go with the idea that, well, it depends on how well the group that you're going with. So you might have friends in that group. If you're an outsider and you're going and you haven't met a lot of the people in the group that's going to one of these things, you might feel a little bit outside of the norm because a lot of people don't know who you are. But I'm sure there's enough people that will get to know you. Well, we have a unique situation in that most of these retreats are mostly women, and when a guy comes, it sometimes some women don't like the fact that there's a guy there. So.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say about the one I didn't have the best experience at. There were a few ladies there who felt that I was, even though I was a member of the group, they felt that I was invading them. Because the one thing the ladies like to do, and this is not a criticism, this is human nature. The ladies are away from home, they let down their hair, and they will talk about their husbands. And when I say talk, I mean kind of complain about their husbands. And when there's a man in the room and they're complaining about men, well, that does one of two things. It either makes them feel a little apprehensive about saying anything about men, or it makes them say even more about men. And suddenly you, as the only man there, you become the representative of the whole of mankind,
or the target,
for the brunt of all those things. And
But in general, the
yeah,
ones that I've got, well, the one I only ever went to is the Ultimate Sewing one. So in that situation, it's always been very good.
yeah, yeah, because those people are all are very nice and yeah, very welcoming. I mean, I think you have to be a special kind of person to go to something that you don't know anybody at all by yourself, which would suggest to me that you are more of an extrovert than an introvert. And so you'll make friends real quick because you're the kind of person who likes people. And you will walk into a room with people you don't know, and within 10 minutes, everybody knows who you are, and they're all very nice and welcoming to you, and that kind of thing. So, but overall, I think a physical retreat is a great event. It's like a little mini occasion, vacation kind of a thing. So in that situation, what do you take with you? Well, if you're a newbie, you probably take everything except the kitchen sink.
Well, yeah, you have to take your machine, your sewing machine, and your projects and material and things that you think you're going to be working on,
Yeah.
plus all of your accessories.
Yeah. And some ladies even bring their own chair, and they'll bring some little tables with them, little side tables, so they can set up a little triangle, for sewing, pressing, and ironing. And they'll bring a little iron with them as well. However, most retreats, well, the retreats I've been on, I do that. I bring my little stool and stuff like that, because most of these places that it's being held in do not have like sewing furniture. It's, banquet facility type
Yeah,
chairs.
sometimes they could be like hard metal or wood chairs
Yeah.
that aren't very comfortable to sit on for a long period of time.
So I really suggest that if you're not bringing your own chair, bring at least a cushion, a comfy cushion for your tush, because you're going to be sitting for long hours at a time. But most times too, they already provide a big area with cutting mats, so you can cut fabric on it. You have to bring your own cutting tools, but you can cut on that. They will have ironing boards set up and irons as well for you to press. Thing is, I bring my own of that stuff because I don't want to wait in line. If it gets busy up there, they can only accommodate so many people at a time, and there'll always be one person who decides that the entire cutting area they need, and they need it for the whole day for their stuff, and don't touch their
Same
stuff.
with irons and ironing boards. They usually provide at least a couple of irons and ironing boards, but the problem is you're sharing it with everybody else in the group, and so sometimes they can be dominated and you might have to wait in line. So it's kind of beneficial if you can take a little iron and an ironing pad with you, if you don't have a big thing that you have to iron. So,
and little collapsible tables that you can get at places like Walmart or Canadian Tire or whatever you have in your town. Not the huge long 6-foot ones, but you can get ones that are about 3 feet or 2 feet long by maybe 18 inches or 24 inches wide, that collapse, and they're good to have. I didn't know that when I went to my very first retreat, and then I saw these other ladies with it, and I thought, whoa, that's a really good idea. And it is. We always take a couple of those with us when we go.
So what ends up happening is that if you're two of us or even a single person, you need a decent car that you can you can lug all this stuff with you.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's almost like you're going for a major moving event when you do that. And last time we went, we both had like sewing machines and embroidery machines and everything else.
It might have been a little overkill.
Yeah.
But one thing you can do to pack your stuff and make sure you have it all is set up kits. Set up kits for 4 or 5 projects. The more, the better, because for several reasons. But before I jump into, I'm jumping ahead here. I use little plastic cases. The project boxes are 12 by 12. People or scrapbookers often use them for keeping their kits and things in. Whatever, but it's a really good idea to put, figure out your fabric. Cut your fabric before you go. Spend a few days before you go to the retreat, and the projects you want to do, cut your fabric if you can beforehand, because that will make your life a little bit more efficient. And like we said, depending on what your setup's going to be, whether or not you're going to get to a cutting mat to do that kind of stuff. So have that all organized. Have your thread that you're going to use in the project in those project boxes as well. If you're switching colors around, everything in the project boxes as much as you can with your pattern and whatnot, and label it and pack that. And I said, I always take more projects than I figure I can do because for a couple of reasons. One, because you're going to be sewing for 12, 16 hours, you could be at a, with breaks, of course, along the way, but you might get bored with a project or it's not going well for you. Like you're just getting frustrated, and you don't want to be frustrated at a retreat because it's supposed to be relaxing. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a variety of projects, you can go, okay, I'm done with that one right now. Put that away. I'm going to start on this one over here. Or if you get ahead of yourself and you get more done than you anticipated, then what are you going to do? Yeah. So I think it's better to pack one more project than you think you can get to, and then you're not going to be bored. And you will always forget something no matter how much you pack. My way of packing is I make lists in advance. I just sit down and I brainstorm with myself days before, and I start making lists of all the things I need, and I use that as my packing list. And of course, inevitably, you'll always forget something, but other people will have it. And I have found at retreats, people are willing to share. If you can't find a seam ripper because you forgot to bring that, someone will have 3, and they'll be more than happy to lend you a seam ripper or whatever that's there. So, but yeah, be prepared. You're going to take a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a
No,
thought
no,
there.
no, no, no. There's, yeah, that you have to do with a physical retreat. You have to take a lot of stuff.
But then that takes us to virtual retreats. And what are they all about? Well, they're not quite the same beast for obvious reasons. First of all, virtual retreat, you don't have to worry about lugging stuff anywhere. It's already there in your sewing area, in your home. You can't forget anything because it's there. Your fabric's all there. Your projects are all there. It's very, very nice. The only one thing, though, that you do have to be concerned about in a sewing retreat is where your computer is set up, what you're using, or your laptop or your iPad or whatever, how you have that set up. Because now, instead of just being able to use your eyes and scan the room, you got to be able to see a screen where you can see the other people, kind of a thing. And I know in some cases, some people have a computer in their office space and their sewing room is totally different. So that is one thing you're going to have to make sure you're able to do. And you're going to have to make sure you have an internet connection that is reliable. Because if you freeze up all the time, that's going to be annoying for yourself.
You also have to know a little bit of how to use the technology to connect.
Now, most virtual retreats are done on a platform like Zoom or one of the other equivalents out there. And I think right now, with COVID, most of us have become pretty much experts on how to use Zoom for things.
And Zoom is actually pretty easy to use.
Yeah. But know the technology. Know enough. You don't have to know everything about the technology. All you really have to know is, how do I connect to the group? And how do I turn on my camera? And how do I turn on my sound, my microphone, kind of thing. So once you have that all set up that way, easy peasy with it.
Yeah, now the detriment to that is that if you go to a physical retreat, you're actually going on like a mini vacation. Yeah. But when you do a virtual retreat, you need to either set it up in such a way that nobody else in the house is going to bother you, or you just accept the fact that you're still home when you're doing that. So.
Now, I've heard what some ladies do when they go, and the majority of people that are on virtual retreats are ladies as well. What they do is they have their family well trained. The kids are told, Mummy's at her retreat. Do not come into Mummy's room. Do not make a whole lot of noise. Mummy's on the computer. And promise to whip them within an inch of their life if they disturb you. Then you get the husband. Okay. Now, I have heard some ladies say their husbands are extremely supportive, of their quilting and doing this, and the husband will make sure he'll take the kids, well, in pre-COVID time, well, even now in COVID times, he'll take the kids to the park for an hour or two, or he will do dinner. He will. I have seen where you've seen on camera. It's really kind of cute. Husband will come in with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever for their wife, and like their little servant for the weekend. And if you're a man and you have a wife, I don't have to worry about that myself. But I think you earn brownie points really with your wife if you treat them like a queen.
Yeah, like I'm
that
gonna
day.
send you, bring in a cup of coffee for you.
Yeah, well, you are a queen. But anyways, no, I think husbands could earn brownie points by, honey, here's a sandwich for lunch, and don't worry about dinner, sweetie. I've got it all made and all ready to go. It's okay, and that kind of thing. And there are some husbands out there that do that as well, because I've seen it when I've been on a virtual retreat. The husband will come in sheepishly and she'll, oh, thanks, honey. And that, well, that's brownie points for whatever he wants to cash those in on in the future. But yeah, so that is one of the disadvantages of virtual retreat. You're not really getting away.
Yeah, but the really big advantage to what I see is that you don't have to lug your equipment around.
No,
because I've done like virtual or done like sewing classes online, and the big advantage of that is that I don't have to take my equipment anywhere.
Yeah. Now, one of the disadvantages though is getting help from other people might not be as easy. Although, having said that, you can go into a private chat or whatever with somebody, and if you want to talk to them about whatever. Zoom does have the ability to have something called breakout rooms, but that has to be done by the host, and the host has to know how to use those as well. It's a little bit more advanced, but it could be done. If there was a group of people that were working on a similar pattern or something, they could have a little breakout room where they could all go in there and just, discuss any issues they have with the pattern or, things like that. Another advantage of a virtual one is speakers. Oftentimes on virtual retreats, the organizer may have a special guest speaker come in and either do a tutorial or talk about something. And you can have that at a physical retreat. Probably adds to the cost of the physical retreat. It also is kind of disruptive to your sewing. Maybe you're not interested in what this presenter has to say, but it would be rude for you to carry on sewing away while the presentation's going on. On something like Zoom, you just mute yourself and you can carry on with your sewing and kind of have one eye at what the presenter. You can hear what they're saying, but no one's going to hear your sewing machine or kids in the background or the dog barking, anything like that. So there is that advantage to it as well. And sometimes you might not want them looking at you, so you can turn off your camera.
Well, the other advantage is, like in a physical retreat, you have to, most of the people come within driving distance of that retreat. I mean, maybe the odd person, if it's a really big retreat or if it's really famous, you might get somebody to fly in, but most of the people are local to the area. Whereas in a virtual retreat, you can get people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Or different areas of your country or another country.
Whatever.
Which you sometimes get a different perspective on from people from other areas that you're not familiar with.
And to dovetail on that idea, the participants themselves may not come from your area. They could come from anywhere in the world.
Right.
For it. And so you get to meet new people. And if the organization that's having this has opened that up to something like that, and that in itself too is a new perspective. It's very interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a virtual retreat for your own local group, and then they'd only invite those people that are in the local group.
So it's kind of a closed group.
It's a closed group, but you could also do a virtual retreat where it could be anybody from all over the world. So
there are those advantages to it. Now, disadvantages of a virtual retreat. Well, your technology is your biggest disadvantage. If your internet connection, as I've already said, is not reliable,
It's not working,
the power goes out.
or even if the host's
Yeah.
internet connection is not working right, then it can cause a problem as well.
It can be very frustrating with it. So yeah, there's that disadvantage.
And the other, like we said, the other disadvantage is that you're actually not physically leaving your house.
Yeah.
Unless you decide that, unless you have an office somewhere where you can retreat to, that you're by yourself.
Yeah, where no one can disturb you, kind of a thing. Of course, another advantage of a virtual retreat, if it's over a course of several days, is let's say there is something you have to pop out for an hour or something. You can, and you can come right back in when you come back. So, there's that flexibility. Whereas if you're at a physical retreat, well, where are you going to go? Because your physical
like if you
retreat
gotta
can be
go
out in the
get
boonies.
your hair done, or you gotta
Yeah.
go to the doctor, or you gotta do something. You need to pick up chicken for dinner.
Well, again, that's where the hubby comes in.
Or it can be almost anything.
So both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages. No, out of those two, which one do you prefer more?
It's hard to say. Like, I do really like the virtual retreats because I like the fact that I'm still at home and I don't have to lug equipment to it.
Yeah.
But the physical retreats are kind of nice because you get to meet and talk to other people.
And you get away.
So, like, they're kind of two different things. And which one do I like better? And it's hard for me to say.
I
think both
really,
of them are kind of nice to have.
Yeah. I think right now, given COVID, my preference is virtual for safety reasons. Now, having said that, there's a one coming up for us as a point. That's being held by Ultimate Sewing. Now, it's not until the end of March, so we have no idea what situation we're going to be in with COVID here where we live in Ontario. It's been all over the place with the restrictions.
It's more like, we've had lulls in the like any place in the world, we've had lulls in the pandemic, and other times where it's more aggressive. So when it's not that aggressive, it doesn't feel as bad to have a physical retreat. But if it's more aggressive, then it's a lot more apprehensive to do a physical retreat.
Now, we have been asked to help with this particular retreat. We have helped in the past as well. And so, yeah, we said, sure, we would definitely help with it. And helping with it means we're basically designing programming for it. Things like little activities. One thing about a physical retreat, you sometimes will get little breaks because there'll be little games or things with prizes and stuff like that. And we kind of look after that kind of thing for their retreat. But what I was apprehensive about is, are they going to check to make sure everybody's double vaxxed? The facility we're going to, what I know that they have had retreats of different sorts at this facility during COVID when they could, but of course they had certain restrictions in place. One of the things this particular spot is famous for is actually the food. But the food is sort of self-served. They usually have sort of a buffet style. And they have a big, huge, wonderful salad bar. Actually, their salad bar is really, really great. I love it. I look forward to it when we go there. Well, under the new regime here, they don't do that anymore. They plate the food and bring it out to you, and they do not have the salad bar and everything. And so there's less people can go to the retreat. Because they have to be spaced out further. You've got to wear a mask and the whole bit. And I've said to Walter, do I really want to go to something with all those kind of restrictions on it? Because that kind of kills, I think it kind of kills the fun out of it all. Yeah, I know we're all used to it pretty much now and the whole bit, but yeah. So I have been basically thinking, I hope they don't go through with this. And I have made a suggestion that if they can't do it as a physical retreat, we could still do the retreat, but we could design it as a virtual retreat. And like I said, I have experience doing that, as some of you out there know, with my Idiot Quilter Retreats that I've had. So I was talking to one of the ladies who is the coordinator of this from the shop, and she actually told me, which I was really pleased to hear, it alleviated some of my worries about it. If this retreat goes through at the end of March, she said that the way this place has been doing it, because she went to a retreat in the fall at this particular place, I guess they only had 3 people at a table in the dining room. They did plate the food, but the food was great. Everything was very, very clean, very, very disinfected, the whole bit. In the hall, which was a separate from where the eating area is, it's a different building completely. They had people really spaced out in the hall, and it's a big enough hall to be able to do that. You didn't have to wear your mask when you were sewing at your sewing machine and with your group, your cohort that you were sitting with. But as soon as you got up and moved anywhere else, you had to have the mask on. Everybody was following the 6 feet apart, 2 meter apart regulation. And she said it went along really smoothly. Now, some things they got rid of. One was the snack table. At many retreats, what they will do is everybody brings goodies, cookies, cakes, things like that, chips, snack food. And there's a huge table, and everybody just sort of donates to that table. And throughout the retreat, if you want to go and get, some nuts or some nuts and bolts or something like that, you just go over and help yourself and bring them back to your sewing table. Well, they couldn't do that because of everything. But, I know something, quite honestly, I never ever really partook of much of that, and a lot of the other people didn't either. So a lot of the stuff got thrown out at the end of the days. And you can bring your own little snackies with you if you're the kind of person that likes to snack while you're serving. They have coffee on all the time, coffee and tea, but they used to have one of those, the drip kind of coffee makers. Well, they've replaced that with a Keurig coffee maker now. So the coffee is now individual. You put it in, take it back. You don't have to worry about, a dirty coffee pot. Someone has to wash that out and everything. You can all do it that way. So after she told me about all these things that they have changed, it gave me a little better feeling about it. I think I am more willing if it does go at the end of March, pending, again, what our situation is, I think I'll be a little bit more comfortable with going to that retreat. But that is a consideration. Whereas when you do virtual, you don't have any of that to worry about because you can't get COVID from a computer screen unless somebody else is licking it and then you lick it right after them. And if you've got that happening, you've got more problems than COVID in your life. So how do you find a retreat? If you don't belong to a guild, because guilds often do that, or if you're not somewhere where there is a quilting stores or that thing.
I mean, usually you can find retreats if you're a member of a guild or a member of a quilting store. They often have retreats, and guilds often have retreats, but there are other ways to find it.
And that is, of course, Google is your friend. Just go in and for your area, just Google retreats in 2022 in my area or something like that. And you may find some that you didn't know about, or ones that are close to where you could go and drive and you can find out more about them. But I did find a website, and I'm just going to put it up here on the screen. It's called thequiltinghub.com. And on this site, they have a worldwide directory of quilting retreats. Now, mind you, people have to post them in here. And so what I did find was, if you look at the map, you'll find what's close to you. You can click down here. I could go to Canada. But if you go to this map, in the United States for 2022 right now registered, there are 244. You can blow the map up. You can blow the map up. Anything that's got highlighted in color, that shows you where there's some retreats. In Wyoming, there's one. In Michigan, though, they've got 54. Ohio has one. New York State has 67. Texas has 12. Oklahoma 1. Utah 1. And this changes all the time as people post things. But let's say we'll go to Michigan. And let's blow up Michigan. There it goes. And you can go in and seems to be a lot for this Creative Passions place, whatever it is. But it gives you the dates for it, how much it's going to cost, and you can go in and view the details as to what's involved in it and make your decision from there. And if that happens to be somewhere close to your area, even have on this site quilt shops for the area, guilds, shows, things like that too. As I said though, in Canada for this year, there wasn't anything listed. However, last year there was. So that may be yet coming. I don't know. But that's one resource. But the other thing you can do is just go into Google and, like I said, go Quilting Retreats in whatever your area is, in Toronto or around Toronto or something like that. And you may find some things there too. The other thing you can go to is you can go to to Facebook groups on quilting. Just do a search for quilting groups on Facebook, and you may find that you may have to join those groups on Facebook, but they may have virtual retreats as well. Oftentimes Facebook groups do. So you can find them if you don't know. But if you have a guild in your area, check out the guild. Ask them if they're having a retreat. Now, oftentimes you have to be a guild member to go to a retreat. So if you're not a member of that guild, maybe not so. But even phone up your local quilt stores and see if they're going to be holding a retreat or know of any. So there's lots of sources that you can go to for that. So having said all of that, I want to talk now and plug my retreat. Some of you know about it. I've run it twice in the last, since COVID started. So number 3 is coming up. The date I have set up is Saturday, March the 5th. My retreat is not a whole weekend treat. It's called the Idiot Quilter Retreat. It'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, and run until about 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on that Saturday. What do we do at it? Well, I will have a notice come out. I have a mailing list already for that retreat based on the retreats I've run before. And I will be sending out the details about it to all those people on my mailing list. But I'll also be posting those in another week or two when I have my plans finalized. I'll be posting them on my YouTube channel. And if you would like to be on the mailing list, then just instead of just relying on the YouTube channel, then just send it to me in my an email message to me with your email saying you'd like to be on the mailing list for the retreat, and I will add you, and you'll get the information for it. Now, my retreat costs nothing. It's free. Not a cent. You can come and go as you please. You don't have to be right there at 9 o'clock in the morning when it starts. That might be more difficult for people who live on the West Coast, for example, because you're 3 hours different from us. So when it's 9 o'clock here, it's 6 o'clock in the morning there. And for those of you that live overseas, it's going to be much later. And those of you in Australia, well, you'll be in the next day, but kind of a thing. But you don't have to stay for the whole time. You know, you can come for a couple of hours if you want. Doesn't matter. It's very flexible, very open. I will have some presentations, short ones. I'm trying to line up a couple of speakers right now. I'm waiting for confirmation from those people. There may be a game or two. I usually like to do a trunk show of people's creations. And so I will ask in the information I send out for you to send by a certain date to me a picture of one of your quilts or a sewing project, or it could be a creative project, an artwork piece. If you're a paper crafter, this is open not just to quilters, but it's open to anybody who does any kind of textile arts. And what I mean by textile arts, I mean knitting, crocheting, garment sewing, whatever. But it's also open to people who scrapbook, people who do paper arts, people who do art journaling, whatever. I open it up to all creatives. Let's call you creatives, shall we? I mean, the majority will be quilters, but that's okay. In fact, one of the speakers I'm lining up is not a quilter, is a paper crafter who has some very interesting things to show and tell us about as well. So there will be prizes. Now, it's very difficult to send a prize in the mail, a physical prize. Well, it's not difficult, but the problem is I could have people from all over the world. at this. And I mean, primarily they're people from North America, but I have had people from South America before, Mexico, England. So sending a prize out to somebody who won it in the UK or something like that, the shipping costs are a bit expensive. And like I said, this is free. So I will have prizes, but they will be in the form of Amazon gift certificates because that's easy to get to you. And if you're, and I will, whatever country you come from in the world where there's an Amazon thing, that's where the gift certificate will come from. So if you're Canadian, it'll be Canadian gift certificate because they're not interchangeable across Amazon, I have found out. So if you get if I give you win a gift certificate from amazon.ca, it's no good on amazon.com and vice versa. But I make sure of that, that you'll get it. If you're an American and you've won it, you will get the American equivalent with it. It's always been a lot of fun. We've always learned from each other. I've always found it very inspiring, and I have a lot of people who are repeat participants. So having said that, I don't really do a pre-registration, but I do ask for you to send me a quickie note saying, yes, I'm really interested and I'm planning to be there. Now, I know life happens, okay? But the reason for that is so I have some idea of how many people I could have. I can handle up to 95 people at a time. It is on a first come, first served basis when you sign in for that day. And we've never had a problem with that, where if somebody came in a little bit later, there was room for them. But I'm just saying, with each one of the retreats I've had, they've become a little bit more popular. So, but I don't think you have to worry. If you have to pop out during the day for, a little bit of time, you can do that and come back in. I'm not going to chain you to your sewing machine or anything like that, like as if I could. And yeah, so I hope you'll consider it. As I said, right now, plan for March the 5th. That's the first Saturday in March. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun, but more details will be forthcoming for all of that. If you do have any questions about it, just send me an email. My email's in the show notes. Okay, so I think that's all I want to say about that for now. Any parting thoughts about retreats?
Everybody should do one, whether it's virtual or in person sometime in their lives.
Yeah. Why?
Just because, if anything, it's a learning opportunity.
Yep. It's a social opportunity as well. And it's just fun. They're just fun, whether it's virtual or physical. It's just fun. So everybody's up for fun these days, I think, because we haven't had a lot of that, have we? So, okay. So I hope you found this informative and enjoyable. And yeah, we'll see what we're talking about next week. We have no idea. We never do. I say that all the time. Okay. So hope you have a good week and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now.